Good afternoon, family. It is February 17th, 2022. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan, and I created this channel as a way to record my progress as I work towards my goal of achieving a healthy weight. I started at 519.8 pounds. At my last weigh in, I was 319.2 pounds. If you guys want to join the family, make sure that you do click that subscribe button. Also, click the bell icon so you'll get notified when I go live, which is usually around 4 p.m. on weekdays. If you'd like to participate in on the discussion, you can join me on those live streams. You can also join our Discord that we created. And the link for that is down in the description below. That is a great place for you guys to share what you're going through or any questions you may have. That's a great spot for those things. Another link that we have down in the description below is a link to our Pinterest board. That Pinterest board is just an example of a lot of the foods that we like to eat. That's one of the big questions that people ask, or, what are you eating to lose weight? And if you want to see some examples of that, check out the Pinterest board down below. Let's see. I think I didn't update that. Today's day 474 of my 3-year challenge to lose 300 pounds. I've used a combination of extended water fasting and a whole food plant-based SOS free diet to lose the 200 pounds so far. I am a little over 21 months. I'm sorry. I'm a little over 15 months into my weight loss challenge, which means I have a little over 20 months to go. I'm really happy with my results so far, and I'm looking forward to the next year. If anybody has any non-scale victories they'd like to share, I'd love to hear your guys' non-scale victories. Any questions, comments, please leave them in the chat box. Carrie is saying, hey, Carrie, I hope everything is going great at home today. Uh, really very excited after yesterday's weigh-in. Obviously, I talked about it yesterday a lot because it was fresh, but losing that weight and getting back to over 200 pounds lost has been something that's been looming here since the beginning of the year. So the month and a half here, but really it's been looming since December when I weighed in at the beginning of December at 336 pounds. I was able to lose 4 pounds throughout the month of December. And then now I've lost another 13 pounds, I guess, since then. So it's really great that things are going in the right direction. And it's tough though. The first thing you want to do when you have something good happen is you want to celebrate with food. And I don't know that I celebrated with food, but I did eat a lot of food. I don't know. It just happened that I think that I planted the seed in Carrie's head a few days ago about making brownies. And so she decided yesterday to make some brownies, and I believe they're from the plant powered family cookbook that I have recommended in the past. And I do recommend that, especially if you have a family you're trying to feed. Our kids have enjoyed a lot of the different recipes, or we've had different kids enjoy different recipes in the cookbook. If you want to see the recipe, I believe Carrie posted that in the Discord under the whole food plant based. Yeah, they're called Crazy Brownies, and they're from the Plant Powered Families by Drina Burton or Drina Burton. Um, and they were really good. I mean, there was a lot of chocolate in them. I had to push them away. I had to stay away from them because I could have seen myself eating a lot of them, and the kids were big fans of them. We had to ration them for them as well. just because they were a fan of them. But anything with that much sugar and not sugar, I guess, that much cocoa powder. And Carrie said she substituted something else in there too. But anyways, it was good. Um, and for dinner last night we had miso, which is always one of my favorites. It really feels like we haven't had miso in weeks. In fact, it doesn't feel like we haven't had miso or miso soup in weeks. Um, when I kind of cut out the avocado 3 weeks ago now, the amount of miso that we consumed in the house probably was cut by a fourth. Like, we probably use a fourth as much miso now as we were using when I was eating the avocado toast with the miso and the mango pico de gallo. Um, so it was good to have that again. I ended up having a couple bowls of it, and one of the things Carrie did forget a lot of times, the recipe that we have for the peanut butter miso that's down in the Pinterest, or down in the link below to our Pinterest. I don't know. I said all of those words wrong. Just put them in a different order and think that I said them right. The peanut butter miso. Carrie a lot of times adds spinach to it just to give us extra nutrients, and she didn't do that last night. I didn't mind it, but it is kind of nice having it with the spinach. I don't know if it's just because we're used to having it with the spinach or what. And then Carrie saying that the brownies were a late Valentine's Day dessert. Yes. That would have probably been a good thing to take on the when we were eating out with our friends and they were eating vegan meal with us. Those brownies probably would have gone over well too. Um, but that was last night. Trying to think if I had anything else. I feel like I ate a lot last night. I had the miso and I had the brownies. Oh, I had some oatmeal because Carrie made oatmeal as if I was going to eat breakfast, and then I had oatmeal as a snack last night. So I go to Wednesday night after the weigh-ins. I go to bed really full. Um, and today I was surprised the scale really didn't go up that much. I usually expect a couple pound gain after the weigh-in, and I was up a little bit, but not as much as I anticipated after yesterday. All right. So I, for whatever reason, not for what, so yesterday at the weigh-in, I was at 200 pounds down again. And one of the things that I'm I really like that I have this record of everything. It says can't beat a big bowl of oatmeal. Yeah, or Sarah. Okay, so the period was a mistake. So Carrie was writing, you can't beat a good. I don't know what's wrong with my tongue today, but it is betraying me. You can't beat a big bowl of oatmeal. There you go. Yes, I absolutely. I loved it. The only thing that would have been better is if it wasn't the bottom of the almond butter container, and I'm sure that that is going to be my job tomorrow morning, is mixing up the new almond butter container. If only they could make that easier. All this natural butter stuff settles and the oil separates, and so you have to stir it up. But yeah, I had that last night as a snack, and I had it again this morning for breakfast. I love oatmeal. I don't know. I For something that I hardly ever ate before. I mean, the amount of oatmeal I eat now is just astronomical. But rice is the same way. I never ate rice before either. So anyways, I got looking back at the last year, and I have this awesome kind of record of what's been going on and like a little bit of a daily kind of talk about what was up. So I thought, I should go back and see where I was a year ago now, because overall, it's awesome. I've lost 200 pounds, but I lost it so quick. The first 90 pounds I lost in 40 days. And then since then, I've lost 110 pounds. But in actuality, I lost the other 110 pounds 5 months ago. And I've just kind of maintained that, or I gained some weight and I'm now back down. And so, uh, when you look back at just the past year, it kind of paints a little bit different picture than if you go back to when I started the whole process. And I think the biggest thing that just looking at my past year of weight loss does is it kind of makes it realistic, and it brings it back to reality. Like the extreme weight loss I had at the beginning was a factor of one thing was is that I was very overweight. My body was fighting me to be that heavy, probably. Like to be 520 pounds at 6 foot tall, you almost have to actively be shoving food, overindulging. I mean, that's so, um, so yeah, that was one of the factors is that I had a lot of weight to lose, but then the way I went about losing that weight was fairly extreme. And it's not realistic that that is going to happen forever. And that's a lot of what I've talked about with having the persistence and sticking to it and not letting the old habits creep in. Um, but it it's about that slow movement towards the goal, because it's not a sprint the whole way. When you run a marathon, you can start off with the sprint, but eventually you have to slow down. You have to jog. You may have to walk. You may have to take a break. Um, and losing weight can kind of be that same way. You can start off with a big theme of energy, but wonder if I got an automated thing coming at the same time every day. We'll see if that was, anyways. So with diet, you can have this big, steam of energy or this big push of energy, and then you fizzle out and you start questioning the way things are going and the choices that you're making. And maybe I need to change this and, tweak that. And you start to really get frustrated because you're not having the same results you had month 1 and 2 in month 15 and month 16. And you may not have realized that going in, but that was going to be part of the, the process, is that you were going to have a bunch of weight loss at the beginning, and then you were going to have to live your life and figure out a way to get the weight off over time. Um, and it was interesting. So I decided to go back and look at my video from exactly 1 year ago. And on February 17th, 2021, it just happened to be the day that I started my second extended water fast. And what's really kind of uh interesting about that is that I started that water fast because I felt like I was not getting the results I wanted to get, or that my results had slowed down. So I decided to do a 10-day water fast, or I saw actually it was in when I started that fast, it was an undetermined amount of time that I was going to water fast. I ended up water fasting for 10 days. I got to a point that I was happy that I was losing weight, but I wasn't able to be active. And that is one of the downfalls of being on an extended water fast is that you can't overexert yourself. You may feel one day that you have all kinds of energy and you want to do all these things and clean the house and take care of all kinds of chores. But if you do that, 4 days later, you might pay for it. And I didn't want to stop being inactive. I was so excited about having lost all of that weight at that point. I guess it was 140 pounds almost at that point I had lost. Um, and I didn't I didn't want to be sedentary. And so I did that fast for 10 days. I was able to go from 381 pounds. And I think I dropped 20 pounds with that 10-day fast. But then I had a huge span where I didn't lose any weight after that. Like I gained a little bit of weight after the end of the fast as expected. And then it took me weeks to really get back to the point where I was at the weight I was at the end of the fast. And so I remember being kind of discouraged about or disappointed in in doing that fast at the time. And that was me trying to push things along and make things go faster than they wanted to go on their own. Um, but if I look at from the 17th of February 2021 to the 17th of February 2022, I've lost 62 pounds since then. That is an average of about 5 pounds a month in the past year. I'm going to kind of go through the timeline of things because it doesn't that gives you one kind of picture of what happened, and then there's the reality of what happened, I guess. But I watched the whole video from a year ago, and um, it's just crazy that that was really only 5 months into me starting this, 4 months into me starting this channel at that point, and my idea of what this channel was going to be and what it has become is completely different. I thought I was going to be talking a lot about fasting, doing more with the fasting, um, and uh, I don't do as much fasting as I anticipated when I started this channel. Now it's more about the food that I'm eating and less about when I'm not eating. Uh, and so, um, but I also wonder if you guys would be interested in me giving fasting advice. I feel like as somebody who's done 40-day water fast, a 30-day water fast, a 10-day water fast, I've done, less than 10-day water fast multiple times. If you want my advice, it just feels weird for me to give fasting advice when in the end I know that the results people want to get are going to come from the diet. Um and the lasting results that people want to get are going to come from the diet. Um and so yeah, if but I think that there's a lot of advice I could give because I did in that video from a year ago. There was a lot of advice I was giving about water fasting, and I still believe many of those things to be true about uh while you're water fasting. Um but it's also kind of like I expected my channel to grow real big too, because fasting I think is a really popular topic. And if I had fasting in all my titles and I was doing these kind of videos about fasting, I feel like it's a little bit more provocative. It's a little bit more controversial. Even though eating a whole food plant-based diet isn't mainstream, it's not like it doesn't give people a visceral response to like fight against it like fasting does. And so yeah, I mean, just people love fasting and whole food plant-based dieting, not so much. And so Uh, and you can see that. You look at these doctors that have been preaching this stuff for years, and they're just, for me, I'm just finding out about them now. There's still millions of people that don't know who these doctors are, you know. And with fasting, that's the same way. There's people that I can name, doctors that they are known on social media and they're known to the world as the fasting doctors. But then if you ask people if they know what the True North Clinic is and who Alan Goldhamer and Dr. Lisle are, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, well, these people are doing medically supervised water fasts. Like, not just like, hey, go lock yourself in your house for a couple weeks and water fast and tell us how you're doing. Like, they're having people come in and they're doing lab tests on them and they're taking vitals every day. And this is the diet that those people are recommending you eat if you're fasting, or if you're trying to, use fasting as a way to get healthier. Um, and Another thing I talked about, though, that uh, I knew when I started this channel that I was going to have to learn about how to eat and what I was going to do as a diet. But I didn't really know how much I was going to continue to educate myself. And this past year, just the amount of knowledge that I have gained from listening to all of these audiobooks has been incredible. That, outside of losing weight or any other kind of metric I can think of, the knowledge that I've received by listening to these books is probably the greatest thing um, that I achieved in the past year, uh, overall. Um, so yeah, in the past year, I started at 381.6 pounds, uh, 12 months ago. I did that 10-day water fast. I lost 20 pounds. Uh, Shortly after that, it had to have been that I challenged myself to do a sprint triathlon. It was a crazy kind of endurance activity I thought that I would be able to do, and that it would push me to work harder than to just do one of those things individually. Um, and I I really went at that. I didn't have to do near as much training as I expected. Uh, I didn't end up doing near as much training as I expected. Most of the training that I did for that triathlon was just to make sure that I would be able to make it through the 5K at the end. I was just trying to get my heart rate up and keep it up for an hour, when I was working out, and then to make sure that I was able to go the distance for the 5K. But After that, that was about July that I did the 5K, and then I got injured the week after I did I said 5K. That was in July that I did the sprint triathlon, and then I tore my distal bicep tendon the week after the sprint triathlon. And my weigh in after kind of everything before I had my surgery, I was at 310 pounds at the beginning of August. So I was actually about 9 pounds lighter than I am now. But um, at that point, everything was going great. And that was really, from February to August, is 6 or 7 months. It's not a lot of time. And in that time, I had lost that 70 pounds. Uh, so I was actually on the average that I want to be on for this year. I was doing that up until I got injured. And then um on or at the beginning of August, I was 310. I had my surgery. Fast forward, I kind of, at that time, I convinced myself. I mean, I didn't convince myself. I knew I needed to lay off the scale and not let that be a big factor for what was going on for me, because I had to deal with healing my arm more than anything. Like, my goal with my arm has always been to just get it back to where it was. I don't need to be a bodybuilder. I don't need to overdo it, or to strain myself too hard. I just want it to be as strong as it was, or strong enough to just live normal life. So anyways, I laid off the scale after the injury, and my weight really kind of flew around then, because I wasn't being held accountable to keeping my weight down for that time. And so from August to September, I gained 13 pounds. And then having that kind of gain, that motivates you to lose the weight. So I got 8 pounds off. So in October, I was 315 pounds. And then November came around, and November of 2021 was my 1 year anniversary of everything. And I really wanted to have that 200 pounds lost. So I was really fighting the weight gain there, but I gained 4 pounds into November, but I was able to stay under 200 pounds lost in the first year. And then kind of the month of so that was the beginning of November. And then by the end of November, I hadn't been weighing on a regular basis. I was just kind of relying on how I was feeling to dictate how much I ate each day. And I put on 16 pounds through the month of November. The We did travel at the end of November for Thanksgiving, and so that probably contributed to that weight gain as well. Um, but kind of what happened too is, I didn't explain this in this whole kind of stream here. We didn't stay on our diet that whole time. I tore my bicep tendon in August. Mid September, I had uh we had to travel. And while we were traveling, we decided to, hey, let's try some food at a vegan restaurant that has salt, oil, sugar in it. And that kind of opened the door for us to make excuses to eat processed foods a lot between September 23rd. I remember the day because we had to travel to Des Moines. Um, and it was a great day. It was a great event that we were up there for, but it was kind of where my diet started to falter. And so from that time in September, when we started kind of finding excuses to go buy the vegan pizza once a week or once every couple weeks, it started out as once every couple weeks. And then in the recent months, it turned into once every week. Um, but yeah, kind of after that injury, I stopped weighing in, and I got to, Carrie says, ugh, my biggest regret. It's been hard to pull it back for her. And, it's why her weight has plateaued. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna figure out if I can get this to make sense. But in the book, The Pleasure Trap, the authors talk about dealing with going into social situations and resisting temptation. And what you run into is that if you go to a Christmas, you go to a Christmas dinner with your family, and you have an aunt that makes a cheese log, that she knows that you love eating this cheese log. So she sees you at the party and maybe you've lost some weight or maybe you're just starting your thing, whatever. But she says, "Hey, I made that cheese log for you. You should go have some." And then you say, "Oh, no, it's okay. I started my diet or I'm on a diet and that's not on my diet." And then they start to pressure you and you have to defend yourself from that pressure. And what they talk about in the book is that if you give in and you let that aunt talk you into having that cheese roll at the Christmas party, then the next time you are at a holiday event with them, let's say you go to Easter and you guys are all at Easter and your aunt says, "Hey, I made that cheese log for you." You have a harder time resisting it because she already got you to break your diet the last time. And the same thing has happened when we went and traveled. It was really easy to stay away from the added salt, oil, and sugar when we were 100% abstaining from the salt, oil, and sugar. But once we let that whatever thing convince us that it was okay to have those processed foods this time, then that special event became more broad and more accepting of reasons to go out to eat or to eat foods that weren't on our diet. Um, the one thing I do have to say that we did throughout this whole process, though, and for me, I guess it's been tougher for Carrie because she has uh, a lot of times she's dealing with feeding the kids or the kids' leftovers, and their leftovers are more processed than the foods that we eat on a day to day basis. But we have not brought the processed foods into our house as our part of our recipe. If we are going to eat outside of our whole food plant-based salt, oil, sugar-free diet, it happens outside of the house or it's food that's brought into the house and there's no more left or there's not um it's not sitting around for days or it's not something that's constantly in our home. That would be something that throughout this whole year, I would say is one of the biggest reasons why we didn't completely relapse at that point. Because when I had my injury and when we allowed kind of processed foods in every time in my 20 adult years of trying to lose weight, that's where I would have fallen off the wagon. September 23rd, 2021, I would have completely fallen off the wagon. And instead of sitting here today saying that I am as light or lighter than I was on September 23rd, 2021, that wouldn't have happened in the past. I would be sitting here going, well, I gained weight for the past 5 months and now I am back up to 380 pounds. You know, I could have easily gained all the weight I had lost at that point since then. So, um, the big thing takeaway from all of this rambling that I've been doing is that you have to just be patient. It's not going to be something that you want to be patient for. I absolutely want to be 220 pounds today. I wanted to be 220 pounds 6 months ago. I wanted it to be at 8 months ago when I realized, or really a month into this diet after. So I did the fast a month in. So probably about this time, we'll say this time a year ago, I realized that me being 220 pounds was actually a reality and that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time until it actually came to fruition. So I can only say that I know that It's so tough to be on these weight loss journeys, but um you, you have to be patient because it will go fast at the beginning and you'll try to recapture that speed. And it's the exact same things that cocaine addicts do. They want that rush that they got the first time that they were taking cocaine. So they just like, I need more diet. I my diet worked so great when I started. Now I need more diet. I need more of this. I need to do more of that. I need to fast more. I need to cut this out more. No, you need to eat like somebody who weighs what your goal weight eats. You need to take your cravings to eat huge volumes of food, and you need to give yourself huge volumes of low calorie dense foods so that you are satisfying your natural cravings for a full stomach, but you're not giving yourself so many calories that your body can't burn them up in a day. Um, so be patient, guys. In the past year, I've only lost 5 pounds a month in the past year, if you do an average. And if you don't do the average, I lost 10 pounds a month for the last 6 months. And I've yo-yoed 15, 20 pounds since then to get back to where I was 6 months ago. Um, I so wish that I would have stuck to the diet as I was sticking to it when a year ago. But I'm back at it now. And in the past 4 months, so on December 1st, 2020, I was 336 pounds. And now, 2.5 months later, I am 17 pounds lighter. And that is pretty awesome that I am still losing weight. And I can't wait to get to my goal weight. I got to get out of here. This is like 40 minutes. You should probably go. I want to thank you guys for checking out my channel. If you do appreciate what I'm talking about, make sure that you are subscribed to that channel or to this channel. Click on that bell icon so you'll get alerted when I go live. Yeah, guys, it's crazy. This past year has been something else too. To say I've lost 60 pounds in the last year is pretty awesome. Many times I've been able to say I've lost 60 pounds a lot quicker, and it didn't mean near as much as this 60 pounds. This was a lot harder and so much more worth it. And speaking of that, get started right now, guys. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. There's no reason to wait. There's nothing coming up. It's more important than your health, your wellness. I mean, adding years to the end of your life, that's what you're going to do if you get that weight off. So get started right now. Nobody ever gets to the end and wishes they would have waited. Don't fall for the myth of moderation, the myth of moderate change. You need to make, if you want to see big changes, you have to make big changes. And don't fall for the myth of moderate consumption. We are creatures that evolved from millennia of probably generations. We evolved just like all the other animals to eat a stomach full of food, however our stomachs are designed, and to think that you're going to be able to just eat less food is not the case. You have to change the density of the food that you're eating. You have to eat lower calorie dense foods, higher volume, lower calorie density, guys. That's the answer. You guys all have a great evening. I will be on tomorrow getting ready for the weekend.